July 24th, 2023 meeting, the Town of Niskayuna Planning Board and Zoning Commission. Mr. Henry, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme.
Here.
Mr. Screbutensis is excused. Mr. Khan is excused. Mr. McPartland.
Here.
Mr. Darpino.
Here.
Ms. Gold.
Present.
Ms. Strang.
Here.
Mr. Drescher is excused. Chairman Walsh.
Here. Thank you. Let's see, we got the approval of minutes. We got two sets of minutes. The first set being the minutes from the May 22nd, 2023 meeting. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. D'Arpino for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McPartland. Any discussion, any comments, changes to those minutes? I have none. No? All those in favor of approval of the minutes from May 22nd, 2023 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, those meeting minutes are approved, and thank you for the planning office for cleaning those up a bit, making those additions. I appreciate it. Next set is the July 12th, 2023 meeting minutes. Can I have a motion for approval of those minutes? Actually, sorry, it's July 10th, just a typo on there. The minutes are actually July 10th meeting. So July 10th, 2023 meeting minutes. Can I have a motion for their approval?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Ms. Gold.
I'll second.
And second by Mr. Laflamme. Any corrections or changes to those minutes? Got the one from Mr. D'Arpino. Thanks, Dave. He emailed me. Page 2, line 49. It's instead of excusing, it's recusing. Okay. And just another minor one. I appreciate you adding the link to the video. That's great to have that there. But it's a link to the wrong video. It's a link to the. There's a link to the 522 video. Yeah, but that's all. I don't know if we need to make a modification, Elena, for that. Is that pretty straightforward, those changes? Just, yeah, just one of us just changing the word to recusing and just updating the link to the correct video. Okay, all those in favor of approval of those minutes with those minor changes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, hearing none opposed, the July 10th, 2023 meeting minutes are also approved. No public hearings, so we'll open a privileged floor. Anyone wishing to be heard regarding any planning and zoning matters, please come forward and state your name and address for the record, and we'll listen to what you have to say. We have nobody here in attendance that wants to speak for privilege of the floor. Do we have anybody online?
Nope, I didn't receive any emails.
Okay, and no emails or communications. So with that said, we'll close privilege of the floor. We have no unfinished business, and we have no new business tonight. So we'll move right to the discussion items. We have two discussion items. First up being 2386 Algonquin Road, 2383 Troy Road. This is an application for a lot line adjustment. Mr. McParland?
Yes, so since the previous meeting, the applicant went before the Zoning Board of Appeals and was granted a variance for an area variance, 19.9 foot setback variance for Mr. Horton's shed, which is accessory structure moving much closer to the lot line. So with that hurdle out of the way, I think we have a really good survey map and sketch plan, and just a few minor changes to that map, a few minor updates. I think we could be ready to call for a resolution approving the final map. So unless there's any other questions or the applicant has any other questions, I was hoping we could just have a little conversation about what specifically changes need to be made to that map. I know we need to add the signature block, date of last revision, and I think even the date, maybe the date that the plat is recorded with the county.
Yeah. The signature blocks are the big one. We can double check with our code. The area map may need to have its own scale, that area map over to the left of the picture and everything, but it's really just sort of administrative changes at this point that we would need in order to create a plat that could be recordable.
All right, does the applicant, Mr. Pfeiffer, is there, I think there was a list, right? Don't we have like a little table or something we can provide the applicant for all the things that need to be in the,
Yeah, usually I write them a letter, which I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. They usually also have like a title block, so that like the county knows what the name is that it's recording.
right? And so if we get, if Mr. Pfeiffer can update the document that he has, include all the other requirements, we could have a resolution, not tentative resolution for the next meeting. Mr. Pfeiffer, you'd be able to get that done next, I think we need it probably another week, right? About a week.
Thank you for allowing me some time tonight. I will reach out to Cindy Elliott, and I'll reach out to either Clark or to Laura and connect those three people and make sure that I don't screw it up by being in the middle, and we'll make whatever changes are necessary.
Okay. Yeah, if you get those changes done, you're at a critical path, and we can have a resolution for approval for the lot line adjustment since the area variance was granted. So we'll take that up unless anybody has any concerns from the board.
And Mr. Chairman, it does look like we have 3 weeks before our next
Oh.
meeting, so
Okay.
a little more time for you, Mr. Pfeiffer.
Okay,
We just
thank
need-
you.
Yep, just need some time for the planning office review, so try to, still do it as soon as possible, Mr. Pfeiffer, okay?
Will do. Thank you again. Have a good night.
Thank you. Anything else?
You're
on the-
welcome. Bye.
Yep, have a good night. Anything else on this subject? No? Okay.
I want to just as a discussion point to refresh my memory on how this falls in our code, or how it relates to our subdivision review process. I'm fairly certain it's a type 2 action for seeker, which means we don't need to make a seeker determination, right?
Yes, correct.
But is there anything else procedurally that we need?
Well, so procedurally, lot line adjustments are separate from a subdivision application
Oh, okay.
because they're not creating an additional lot in any way. And so we actually have it's in our subdivision code, but it's a whole different section for lot line adjustment. And so procedurally with a lot line adjustment, typically the lot line adjustment would be submitted to the planning department, and the planning department does administrative review, lets them know everything that's wrong, and then it goes to the planning board for addresses everything, make sure it's okay, and then it goes to the planning board for final approval. The only time that's a stumbling block is in the case of both of these when they need an area variance, right? So then it comes to you preliminarily, goes to the zoning board, you get updated on what the zoning board says, but now we're almost to the step that normal people would have for a lot line adjustment, in which we'll give them a written list of what they need to address, and then it comes back to you guys for final approval. But usually a lot line adjustment can be one meeting with the planning board if it is not complicated.
Yeah, one meeting if we have the correct map to sign off, or,
Correct.
they go off and take care of that.
Yeah.
Just like this case,
In the case of the next one, you guys kind of want to decide how that gets configured probably. And in the case of this one, it very clearly needed an area variance, before we even started, so.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks. All right, that closes 2386 Algonquin and 2383 Troy Road. Next is 1900 Union Street / 1854 Union Street. And this is application for a lot line adjustment. This is something new, and we have one of the applicants here, Mr. Foreman. Mr. Foreman, if you come up, state your name and address for the record, and maybe you can at least kind of brief us on the plan here.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Glenn Foreman. I live at 1900 Union Street. I actually brought one of the Ray Koch original surveys from 1986. If anybody wants to see what my house looks like, would that be?
Yeah, we can pass it down, but we do have whatever the application. Laura
That's
can pull
right.
things up on the.
So on that map, there's a house next door to the west. It's on 72 feet by 246 feet. And I've had three, neighbors in that sort of golf mini mansion over the years. I've been there 38 years. In September, it'll be 38 years. And my neighbor has two boys and approached me on the woods behind his house. And, you know, I have, there's a driveway that would make him have a circular driveway. Right now I have three driveways, and I have a circular driveway in the front and a circular driveway in the back. The change would give him a driveway so he can have a circular driveway, and it would eliminate the driveway in the back of the house. But we are not developers. We're not familiar with the process or what some of the comments were fed back about a through lot creation through this process. I have Route 7 behind me, which is New York State, and then I have Union Street in the front. And my neighbor's happy to get a big size lot. He'll have 102 feet by 200. Well, I don't know how deep it is, but we both spoke earlier today, and we want to just accommodate whatever the rules are and understand them better and make it easy for everybody. So whatever feedback I get on my original sketch, we're happy to make any modifications that satisfies the town.
Yeah, and it's my understanding, and Ms. Robertson, correct me if I'm wrong, but 1254 is a lot of record, non-conforming lot, and so this would make it, in some cases, more conforming with the distances of the frontage and so on and so forth. But I believe the concerns may be the fence and the driveway. Is that true?
The garage. So yes, it's 1854 Union. It is, the frontage becomes conforming with this lot line adjustment. The area is better. Like in most respects, this lot line adjustment makes the whole area, I think, better.
More conforming.
The only issue is that right now, 1854 Union Street only fronts on Union Street. And if they were to take that slice behind their house, which like logistically makes sense if you look at it, it does give that property 2 front yards. And then there's an existing garage and an existing 6-foot fence, which would therefore be out of compliance.
Right.
You can't have accessory structures in your front yard.
So we would still make a recommendation to the ZBA for those things if they want to proceed as with the plan that was submitted.
Mhm.
As far as the driveway goes, you say that on your property, 1900, you're looking at doing away with the back piece of driveway, or you're going to separate it from, if you go back to the other drawing, Laura, the first one? Yeah, that one there.
And that is representative of the one that we have here.
Yeah, but you mentioned about the driveway, Mr. Foreman. You're going to do something with that back, and you need to have the microphone. So if you could stay and you can just talk us through it, it'd be good.
So the far west driveway actually sort of has that little ear on it.
Yep.
That actually points to his driveway in front of his garage where the word 1854 is written. So it would just really connect, and you would, get rid of the fence on behind his driveway and behind his garage. Everything else is fenced, the church and the Victorian, and of course Route 7. And he would just take that fence, move it to the other side of the driveway and go straight back. And where the word drive is on my back driveway,
Yep.
that's about where my basketball court is. So maybe on the D, I would just get rid of the driveway from the D over, only because we have, a basketball court there. But
All right.
whatever amount of that has to go, we can live without it.
Yeah, I think the only concern is the connection. That would be my view. Maybe the planning department or somebody can tell me if there's any requirements. But I believe it's just that it's connected. So you would need, like, if it wasn't connected, some kind of an easement, because you could still use it coming through 1854. So if you have to, I guess you would have to separate that driveway somehow. I don't think you need to remove all of it, just a portion of it. As far as the fence goes, planning office would need the information about the distances. I'm not sure if we have all that data or not, how far the fence is, so on and so forth. So you could make your denial letter for the zoning board of appeals for the fence and for the garage, right?
Mhm.
And then after you get your denial letter, and that would be actually for Mr. Conboy, because it's his property, he would have to go in front of the zoning board of appeals to get an area variance to maintain the shed in a front yard, because it'll create 2 front yards, and having a 6-foot high fence in the front yard, which are both not permitted by our code. But what I can see so far, it seems like it makes sense because of the size of the lot and the location between Union Street and Route 7. It seems like it wouldn't hurt anything.
Yeah, I mean, the only alternative, which I think goes against the regular size lots, is that 1900 Union Street could keep a strip of land behind 1854, but much smaller. And then it wouldn't have frontage on Route 7, but then you'd have a funky little swing.
Yep, no, doesn't make
So-
sense.
Yeah. So I just figured I would bring that up to you guys. And it may be that the zoning board says do that. But as far as planning goes, I see why it makes more sense to go straight to the back on these properties.
Yeah.
I do as well, and that it's a through lot isn't a big deal to me because I don't think we're going to be having any driveway going out onto Route 7. I don't think the state will allow it.
Right, never. They acquired that my house, we just point out one more thing about the house. And I'll just point to it for a second. So everybody
Yeah, sure, yep. Oh, careful.
I got rid of this years ago. This is the actual lot that you see on the map.
Oh, you're right.
And this lot here is also mine.
Oh, wow.
When they put Route 7 in, the person I bought the house from, Mr. Parente, told me, well, his family told me that they deeded it back, but it's landlocked. I can't do anything with it, but I love all the trees there. Because you'll see my back lot where it says land to be conveyed is all mature forest, and everything on that little triangle is all mature forest. And it had lots of cottonwoods and locust, but I just leave it there. And, you know, I successfully argued for lower taxes on it because they thought it was a building lot, but that's another developer's, set of things up there around me. But I didn't sell it either because when I look out my back door, I just see the forest. So anyway, that's my bigger lot. So 1.8 acres, not exactly the purple line.
You're right.
And then the other little piece, that's,
Cool.
and I think part of the fence that you may be talking about that's high is the church has a fence. It's some kind of or maybe the previous owner put a fence in. I don't know anything about the fence on the church side, the Emmanuel Lutheran Church side. But behind the garage, the new black fence replaced an old woven fence that they had for their dogs.
Yep.
But yeah, all of those suggested changes seem quite reasonable. And like I said, we're easy to work with and I'm not going anywhere, and that's not. So we want to just meet the requirements.
Right.
Yeah, so the question is, do you have enough information to do the denial letter? Is it just,
Yeah, I wanted to check with you guys to see if we should push for a little piece, piece
think
along
so.
Route 7.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I think it makes sense to, because it's nice, the delineation, straightforward, straight line all the way back, versus having a jog to prevent an area variance,
And then we'll just talk with the owner
But that,
about, what the implications are of having two front yards, and
Yeah,
then he can
yep.
go to the zoning board.
right. So for the implications of for your neighbor having two front yards, it has a front yard on Route 7 and one on Union Street. So for instance, they decide to put a pool behind their house, they're actually putting a pool in the front yard of Route 7, which would require an area variance. So it's going to create, could potentially create some problems for them.
Right. I put in a pool, when my kids were little, which was quite a long time ago, but it's, the only thing left is a little deck. And that was probably in 1990, something like that. It was an above ground pool. And that's how I knew about the cottonwood and the filter. But we got rid of it when the kids grew up and, we used to swim at the Edison Club, not at the Mohawk Club because the Mohawk Club's too expensive. Can I say that? So yeah, that all sounds fine. I think,
Yeah, so it's Dr. Convoy is your neighbor? Is it?
Convoy, that's right.
Yeah, so as long as he understands the implications of this request, Laura, the planning office will do the denial letter. And then at our next meeting, which is August 14th, we can make a recommendation for the zoning board of appeals. And I think you could be on, when's the date for the zoning board? Is not the 15th,
No, I think it's later that.
if it's later in the month, that'll work. And then you'll have time to get right on the zoning board of appeals agenda. And then if they make their determination and they approve your area variances, then you come back and we can finalize the lot line adjustment.
Okay.
Just like we discussed with the previous applicant, making sure we have all the correct information, the map is correct. Now, if they deny the area variance, obviously you can't go forward with the lot line adjustment, then we could consider changing the lines so that we're not creating, so you maintain ownership of a strip of land along Route 7, and then they would not have two front yards. But we'll see what the zoning board of appeals has to say, I guess is the right thing to do.
That's all sounds fine. And I have no problem with that
Yeah.
at all. That sounds like that can work one or a couple of ways.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, so the zoning board meeting is actually the 16th, so that it might be tight for the August meeting. We'll talk to Linda and see
Okay,
if it would be August or
There's no clock on us, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
so it doesn't make it, it wouldn't make, if we don't make the August, it would be the
September.
September, because it's once a month, the zoning board of appeals. I think it's a third Wednesday, second Wednesday.
September 20th. Mhm.
Okay.
Third Wednesday.
All right.
All right, well, thank you very much,
Thank-
everyone.
no, Thank you. Thank you for
Appreciate it.
coming in. Appreciate it.
Ray is still my surveyor, by the way. I talked to Jackie.
We have an image of it.
Yes.
This particular one.
already.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep, it's in, it's in all this packet is always posted online if you want to take a look at anything or any of the statements. It's all on our website. Okay,
perfect. Well, thank you.
great. Let's see. No, that sounds good. And we'll need a project lead if anybody's would like to volunteer, take a look at the property. That would be great. So we can talk about it at the next meeting. Jake, do it, Leslie? Ms. Gold will take that as project lead, and that way we can have hopefully a discussion at the next meeting. We're ready to go. All right, let's see, reports, any reports from the planning office?
I do not, unless anybody had any specific questions on projects.
Anybody?
How are we doing with enforcement at the Broken Inn? Or,
So if you've driven by, you probably noticed they were able to box in the
Planters.
yeah, the traffic
Jersey
barriers.
barrier, yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't gotten any complaints. The parking striping still crisscrossed because the state had to do their final inspection, but the state complete their final inspection last Friday or Thursday. It was just very recently. I was driving in and I saw them walking around and I was like, oh, and then I got an email. So we just got an email from Schenectady County that says we can remove the curb. So we're now to the point where we can remove the curb and then you won't have that crisscross striping over there. But I mean, so far it seems to be going well. I've heard tell that there may be a hot dog something out there. I have to do a little more research on what that is and if it's actually selling things,
A
but
hot dog cart?
yeah.
Yeah, he's posted it
Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
Pictures of nothing,
Yeah, so that's something that we were gonna have to tackle, but as far as closing out the original project, we're close.
Is that just a peddler's permit or something along those lines?
Yeah, so usually if you're selling stuff within the right of way, it becomes something that they deal with Michelle Martinelli on in Schenectady County, but we don't have a lot of that.
Yeah, no?
So.
No, looks like it's pretty popular too, so.
I mean, they don't have anything planted in the traffic barrier things yet that I could tell. But the coverings looked good, and then I think they will look better if something gets planted in them.
Any training opportunities coming up?
No, but I saw that you did one. You completed one of your training.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll double check, but I think the next one I was looking at is probably in the October one.
The Hudson Valley,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Hudson Valley.
I like
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, I like that one too. There was a pretty
that one every
expensive
year.
one somewhere like in the Finger Lakes or something, but I don't even send those ones to you
Yeah,
guys.
no. Thank you, but no.
Any updates on, is it the seeker that we were waiting to hear back on from the Mohawk Club?
Oh, yeah. Well, so I mean, the town board did do the positive declaration and it was shared with the applicant. They actually have a pretty flexible timeline for developing the scope, the draft scope that they can submit to the town for our review. So the last thing that we heard from them is they're going to review the scope and let us know if they wish to continue. But they have pretty open timeline to do so. Once we get the draft scope from them, then we have 60 days to review it and get it to where we want it. And so if we were to get a draft scope, we would reach out to, the town board and the Conservation Advisory Council and the planning board and start working from there.
A draft scope of the seeker or a draft scope of the project?
Yes,
Yeah.
right. So the first thing is that the scoping document kind of dives into what the environmental
Requests.
impact statement is going to address.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
On that seeker, is an access road required in definition in the scope?
So I think that I have to talk to Elena about this, but I think that it would be worth our time to try and get a determination on the road, sort of concurrently or before we really dive into the environmental impact statement, because it may kind of guide the alternatives that they're looking at. Yeah.
I would think.
As far as the road, we're doing that concurrently. It's something I'm working on right now.
It is, yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. I just hadn't talked to you about it for a while, so.
And then I got to ask about 2890 River Road. Is that application, are we going to see that soon or?
So we had an internal meeting with the applicant because there's a lot of utility issues on that parcel. And after the meeting, our impression was that they were going to withdraw the application and potentially just do a single family home on the parcel. But and Clark, jump in here, I don't believe we've got anything in writing from them yet.
All right. Okay, yeah, I mean, if they don't withdraw it, we could put it on the agenda for the next meeting. We can review it and we can tell us what kind of issues there are, you know. I know you've been working on that and we're glad that you're working on that and we support your input, of course, you know, so. But let's get her done, all right? Any other questions or comments for the board? No? All right, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion for adjournment by Mr. Laflamme. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Gold. I can tell. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. And thank you.